What's happening around the world and what's happening here at home.
A very good evening and welcome to Prime Time News here on TV1. It's the 20th of September 2023. For the News First team, I am Peruni Karunaratna.
And I'm Sandro Ferdinando. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Chinese geophysical scientific research vessel Xi'an-6 moves closer to Sri Lanka. What will happen to the Colombo port city? What is David Cameron's involvement in Port City? Who is the police officer who tried to explain the Easter tax to the MPs? Ranil discusses new laws that would regulate social media with Meta. Warning from the professionals.
කවදාවත් ගත නැති විදිය තීන්දුව తీරන ගණනාවකට අපිට එළඹෙන්න සිද්ධ වෙයි. රතු කට්ට පනිනකන් ඉවසලා තියෙනවා.
The Chinese geophysical scientific research vessel Xi'an-6 that also attracted India's attention has entered the Indian Ocean.
The Xi'an-6 is some 520 nautical miles away from Sri Lanka.
The Chinese geophysical scientific research vessel Xi'an-6 was moving closer to the Andaman Islands towards Sri Lanka. According to maritime traffic data, the Xi'an-6 is expected to reach Sri Lanka by the 29th of September. This morning, the vessel was anchored in the Indian Ocean and was moving at a speed of just 3 knots. India had expressed its concern over the vessel reaching Sri Lanka via diplomatic channels.
The Sri Lankan government is planning on relaunching the Colombo port city, which is a Chinese investment, as Colombo Financial City in Abu Dhabi and Dubai.
State Minister of Investment Promotion Dilum Amnugama told Parliament that the launch of the Colombo Financial City will take place next week, with the former UK Prime Minister David Cameron leading the effort.
Port City Colombo is a city development built as an extension close to Goldface Green, spanning 269 hectares of reclaimed land from the sea. With breakwater and the sea area, the Colombo Port City is around 446 hectares. On the 20th of May 2021, the Sri Lankan Parliament passed legislation to establish the Colombo Port City Economic Commission for the administrative operations of the Colombo Port City. In the Sri Lankan Parliament, it was revealed that the Colombo Port City will be rebranded as the Colombo Financial City.
On the 26th of September, we will be relaunching the port city in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. It will be rebranded as the Colombo Financial City. Former UK Prime Minister David Cameron will also attend the event.
What is a financial city?
A financial city is a region that allows for transactions to take place with special tax concessions and tax exemptions. In addition, these are also called tax havens. Switzerland is one of the most famous tax havens on earth, and that is why the term Swiss bank account is popular. In addition to Switzerland, Macau, Hong Kong, Singapore, British Virgin Islands, St. Kitts and Nevis, Panama, Puerto Rico and Seychelles are tax havens that cater to an elite clientele. As financial transactions can take place freely in these regions, they are also considered as the best places to launder money in a massive scale.
Will the Colombo Port City become a tax haven?
The administrative operations of the Colombo Port City is carried out by the exclusive Colombo Port City Economic Commission. Interestingly, certain laws and regulations of Sri Lanka will not apply to this region. Notably, multiple tax legislations do not apply to the Colombo Port City, namely the Inland Revenue Act, the Value Added Tax Act, the Finance Act, the Excise Special Provisions Act, the Customs Ordinance, the Ports and Airports Development Levy, the Sri Lanka Export Development Act, the Betting and Gaming Levy Act, Termination of Employment of Workmen Special Provisions Act, the Entertainment Tax Ordinance, the Foreign Exchange Act and the Casino Business Regulation Act. In addition, tax exemptions and incentives can be provided for operations. The Minister of Megapolis and Western Region Development of the Government of Good Governance, Partali Champikaranavaka, commented on this in Parliament.
We conducted a feasibility study on the purpose of a man-made island and on what it can provide to take Sri Lanka's economy forward. That is why we moved the financial city that was to be established in Beira Lake region to Port City. It was to be similar to Bangkok. There are over 100 cities like this across the world, including Singapore and Hong Kong, and we call them tax havens. What was required was the establishment of a banking system that would allow the wealthy elite to deposit their ill-gotten gains. That was the background for establishing a financial city. If we had managed to successfully implement it, the country would have never faced this crisis.
Sri Lanka should have a separate plan to generate an income if it becomes a tax haven. Therefore, it is questionable as to how it can be achieved when transactions are released from every possible law that would generate tax revenue. Incidentally, it is a former British Prime Minister David Cameron who will be leading the effort to rebrand the Colombo port city to the Colombo Financial City.
Who is David Cameron?
David Cameron was the UK Prime Minister from May 2010 until July 2016. He was also the leader of the Conservative Party from 2005 to 2016. In 2016, David Cameron resigned, bringing an abrupt end to his six-year premiership after the British public took the momentous decision to reject his entreaties and turn their back on the European Union. He came under fire for breaking Britain's economy with policies. Cameron also faced serious charges over his business endeavours. On the 9th of August 2021, following a BBC exposé, it came to light that David Cameron made about $10 million from Greensill Capital before the finance firm he lobbied on behalf of collapsed. Greensill abruptly went bankrupt around 2 years ago. David Cameron was at the centre of controversy into his business dealings after revelations that he lobbied former colleagues by text messages and over drinks on behalf of a finance firm. Cameron from the Conservative Party had directly lobbied senior Whitehall officials and the Chancellor Rishi Sunak, the current Prime Minister of the UK. David Cameron, the former British Prime Minister, is going to lead the rebranding of the Colombo port city with such a history.
It was said that the launch will take place in Dubai with lobbyist David Cameron. Now they need to utilize the lobbyists they recruited. Nivad Cabral also hired a lobbyist. Millions of dollars were paid to Imad Suberi, who is now in prison. There is no trace of the money.
එතුමාව සහභාගී කරවන්නේ චීන සමාගම විසින් රජයේ පාර්ශ්ව විසින් නෙමෙයි. එතුමාත් ඒකට සහභාගී වෙනවා.
The port city is built in Colombo, the commercial capital of our country. There is no issue in the implementation of massive development projects like the Colombo port city. However, the concern is awarding the opportunity to foreign parties to enjoy the benefits of our country's unique geostrategic location by giving unlimited tax concessions. Therefore, won't all the major investments be attracted to the port city instead of entering the commercial capital of the country? So what will happen to the city of Colombo in the future? News first highlighted these concerns when the legislation to establish the Colombo Port City Economic Commission was debated in Parliament. However, these laws have been passed.
Sir Nicholas Clegg served as Deputy Prime Minister of the United Kingdom under David Cameron from 2010 to 2015. He is now the President of Global Affairs at Facebook's parent company Meta. President Ranil Wickremesinghe met with Sir Nick Clegg in New York on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly. During their discussions, President Wickremesinghe highlighted the government's new initiatives to combat online hate speech and the spread of fake news. He emphasized that the proposed bill would allow concerned parties to challenge specific aspects through the Supreme Court, and further revisions could be considered during the parliamentary committee review. The President was briefed on Meta's advancements in artificial intelligence with a particular emphasis on open source technologies. Both parties explored potential collaborations between the Sri Lankan government and Meta in the field of artificial intelligence. One of the proposals discussed was the development of a collaborative program between Meta and the Sri Lankan universities aimed at advancing AI technology. President Ranil Wickremesinghe highlighted the government's new initiatives with the President of Global Affairs for Meta in New York at the same time when the online safety bill has attracted strong criticism. According to the bill, 5 individuals appointed by the President will be empowered to block any social media account, prosecute, fine and even imprison individuals. It is not possible to make various statements on social media that this commission regards as wrong, and there is no opportunity to share them. The President's 5-member commission will decide whether statements are true or false. Before this bill was gazetted, the anti-terrorism bill was also gazetted. It is even more serious. According to that bill, protesting against the port city and even International Monetary Fund could be considered as an offence related to terrorism. Designating places decided by the President as prohibited places and protesting and disrupting those places is an act of terrorism according to this bill. The police, army and coast guard can make arrests without warrants as per this bill. Other desired objectives achieved via the legislation being introduced to combat terrorism and ensure online safety, the Frontline Socialist Party commented on this.
The President will appoint 5 people to determine what is true and false. That means 22 people will have to accept what the 5 individuals say is true and what they term as false. Ranil Wickremesinghe met with the President of Global Affairs for Meta, Nick Clegg, in New York. What did he talk to Nick Clegg about now? He has said that people are using Facebook for all sorts of things and new laws will be introduced to stop that and requested his support for it. He had sought for the support to block certain accounts and it is reported that Nick Clegg had agreed to do it. Nick Clegg is the Deputy Prime Minister of Britain between 2010 and 2015. The leader of the Liberal Democrats, David Cameron, was the British Prime Minister when Nick Clegg was the Deputy Prime Minister. Now David Cameron is playing a game together with Ranil and the Rajapaksas. On September 26th in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, there is an international conference which is only for invited guests. At that conference, he has taken over the job of promoting the port city of Sri Lanka and David Cameron has also spoken with Ranil. What is this game together with the Conservative Party? This deal is not going to develop the countries. Under the Anti-Terrorism Act, a person who goes to a trade union meeting and gives a speech or who writes a leaflet is a terrorist. Then there is the Online Safety Bill, where one will not be able to even post on Facebook. There was also the Broadcasting Regulatory Commission Act, and they try to suppress the media. What eventually will happen is that the mainstream media is not allowed to speak, and social media is not allowed to speak, and the people are not even allowed to speak in the road.
The Youth for Change convened a media briefing and expressed its stance in this regard.
It is stated in this bill that false statements can be prohibited. They have defined false statements as ones that pose a threat to public security, health and peace, and even promote feelings of enmity and hatred between people belonging to different social classes. Now, who did this all these years? Who made statements which posed a threat to national security? Was it not the government? Let's take the Easter Sunday terror attack for example. Who made statements that misled the people, concealed the real faces behind the attack and spread lies? Who made statements that were harmful to public health? Who spread superstitious ideas during the COVID pandemic? It was the government's health minister who did this, who promoted the Dhammika tonic on social media. One even drank the Dhammika in parliament just to promote it. Are these not false statements? What is the law that is being executed against such actions? It is the government that has done things of this sort in the first place. The government made statements that provoked racial and religious conflict. Now, the movement to retain Ranil Wickremesinghe in power and the movement to bring the Rajapaksa back to power have got together and are carrying out an agenda to provoke religious conflict. The government itself gets involved in spreading false statements. This is all being done by the government. We must ask them, are you all ready to go to jail?
The Ekvemu Trade Union Collective convened a media briefing and explained the proposed repression laws.
Ranil Wickremesinghe is the one who will be making decisions on the accuracy of the information or the prejudice caused by that information sent online. Ranil Wickremesinghe is the one who appoints representatives and members to commissions along the way. This is such a joke. This president and his government are acting as if they have a proper commission which is inclusive of all necessary parties and violating the constitutional rights of citizens to information and freedom of expression.
Many exposés made in the past via social media or media were pushed under the rug and were vehemently denied. We all knew very well that the country's intelligence agency was very much aware of the Easter Sunday terror attacks prior to it. However, after the attacks, many claimed that the police and certain other individuals knew about this. By then, we did not have the Presidential Commission reports. No one knew if this was 100% true or false. But later, the truth came to light via the media. This would have been a problem according to this bill. This is not the only issue. If you own a website, that website can be taken down. Your bank accounts can be taken down. The internet is a safe space of its own. Even if you have spent years to build your own platform, if the government feels like you are making false statements, they can take that platform down. They can also fine you an amount ranging from 500,000 rupees to 1 million rupees. You could be jailed for a period of 5 to 10 years. Not only that, the Commission can file complaints in this regard. They can go to a magistrate's court and get an order to not allow someone to make a certain statement. They have the freedom of funds to do this. Not only that, if you have a personal grudge, this can be used as an opportunity to take revenge. This is a dangerous bill that can destroy people for their online conduct.
විතරක් නෙමෙයි ඔබට පෞද්ගලිකව හතුරෙක් ඉදියොත් ඒත් මේ පනත හරහා ඔබට පෞද්ගලිකව පරිගණන පුළුවන් හිතන්න එපා ආණ්ඩුවට විරුද්ධව කතා කරන හැටි විතරක් මේක තියෙනවා කියලා. ඒ නිසා අන්තර්ජාලය තුල පුද්ගලයන් විනාශ කර දැමිය හැකි ඊටාම බිහිසුණු පනතක් මේක.
Meanwhile, a special program to raise awareness among Sri Lankan lawmakers on the Easter Sunday terror attack investigations took place yesterday.
The program was chaired by Minister of Public Security Tiranalas in Parliament Committee Room Number 1. Public Security Secretary Vyaniguna Tilaka, Inspector General of Police C.D. Vikramaratne, as well as senior ranks from the Criminal Investigations Department and the Terrorist Investigation Division were also present. Government and opposition MPs attended the program and the detectives responded to the questions posed on the investigation reports.
Reverend Father Cyril Gamini Fernando, the spokesperson for the Archdiocese of Colombo, commented on the program held to raise awareness among MPs.
සම්මන්ත්‍රණය සඳහා කරුණු දැක්වීම කරන්න.
They had invited Nilantha Jayawardena to lead the program. The motive of this is clear. He is a person who had the information in hand and failed to execute his duties to prevent the Easter Sunday terror attacks. The Presidential Commission of Inquiry has also made recommendations against him. There is a recommendation for the Attorney General to consider filing criminal action against him. None of these measures have been implemented. The Supreme Court had delivered a ruling with regard to the FR case filed against Nilantha Jayawardena and several others. The ruling makes something clear about Nilantha Jayawardena. Due to objections, he was not given an opportunity. Thereafter, it was Prasanna Alvis who made the presentation. Who is Prasanna Alvis? He too faces allegations. After Ravi Senaviratne and other detectives from the CID who were investigating the Easter Sunday attacks were moved around, Prasanna Alvis was appointed as the CID director. He faces allegations over the assassination of Lasantha Vikramatunga. He is alleged to have destroyed the evidence in the assassination. Bringing forward this person to make a presentation to the MPs in Parliament of the Easter Sunday attacks is an insult to the Parliament. The requirement of the Minister and Government is clear to us. In order to find the truth, first we need to stop these jokes and we need to stop shielding criminals. We need to start fresh. In order to find the truth and to bring justice, we need a proper, transparent investigation into these brutal attacks. A debate on this also arose in Parliament.
The parliamentarian posed a question on the police officer who were charged by the Presidential Commission of Inquiry appointed to investigate the Easter Sunday terror attacks. It does not refer to those who have been named. There are no charges or allegations in the report of the Commission of Inquiry. They have made observations and handed it over to the Attorney General to study the content and decide under which article would cases be filed. Therefore, until that happens, it is inappropriate for me to name officers stating that they are being charged. If the Attorney General has decided to charge them, then I can state that the said officers will be prosecuted as per the decisions of the Attorney General.
The Commission of Inquiry has sent its notes to the Attorney General to prosecute Nilantha Jayawardena. But you are saying that you cannot mention names until the Attorney General makes them public. So when the Presidential Commission names a person, under what category are they considered? Are you saying that the Presidential Commission of Inquiry is of no use?
එතනින් නම් කරන අය එයා මොන වගේ හැටියට නම් කරන්නේ එතකොට ඒ ජනාධිපති කමිෂන් එක වැඩක් නැහැ කියලාද ඔබතුමා කියන්නේ? ඔබතුමා එතන වැරදි.
You are wrong. The Presidential Commission of Inquiry has not even named Nilantha Jayawardena. Nilantha Jayawardena is mentioned in the Supreme Court case.
The report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry says so. The Commission of Inquiry recommends that the Attorney General consider instituting criminal action against Senior DIG Nilantha Jayawardena under appropriate provisions of the Penal Code.
DIG Nilantha Jayawardena is the first to receive the information via WhatsApp. He deleted all the data on his phone. If Nilantha Jayawardena is prosecuted, a large number of people from either sides will have to go to prison. The government is afraid of prosecuting Nilantha Jayawardena.
Please read page 320 and respond.
He assumes that what he says will be revealed. Parliamentarian Kiriel said that we are afraid to prosecute Nilantha Jayawardena. Nilantha Jayawardena already had a case and he could have said anything during that trial.
Nilantha Jayawardena was penalized by a civil court. He cannot be sent to prison by a civil court.
So Nilantha Jayawardena should have revealed it all in the court without having to pay a fine of 75 million rupees.
They paid fine. If Nilantha Jayawardena has spoken out, many from either side would have to go to prison.
The Battleclaw Campus, which was taken over by the security forces following the Easter Sunday terror attacks, was returned to former Governor MLAM Hizbullah.
The former governor said that the premises was returned to him following a request made to the president. MLAM Hizbullah built the Battleclaw Campus with international financial aid to operate a higher education institution.
Addressing the SDG Summit 2023 on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, President Ranil Wickremesinghe claimed that the current state of SDG advancement is globally unsatisfactory.
The current progress of the SDG is globally unsatisfactory. Only 12% of the targets are on track, while we have not made any progress in 30% of the other targets. We have discussed the scaling up of actions to ensure the acceleration of the SDG. The pandemic also aggravated the pre-existing global debt crisis, and many countries, including mine, have faced bankruptcy. The question now raised is whether SDGs are even attainable in the current scenario. Take the example of Sri Lanka. In 2019, we estimate that 9% of our GDP would have to be invested to achieve these targets. Following the pandemic and the economic crisis, this is now not realistic. The Climate Prosperity Plan of Sri Lanka requires US $26.5 billion to be implemented before 2030. But where can countries such as mine find such funding? In 2019, we estimate that 9% of our GDP would have to be invested to achieve these targets. Following the pandemic and the economic crisis, this is now not realistic. The Climate Prosperity Plan of Sri Lanka requires US $26.5 billion to be implemented before 2030. But where can countries such as mine find such funding? Sri Lanka's sovereign debt crisis has resulted in little or no fiscal space to channel scarce public funds towards these priority spending areas. In 2022, the debt service cost was equivalent to 151% of the government revenue that year. Today, even countries which have been spared bankruptcy are struggling. The G20 summit reiterated that developing countries require financing up to 5.9 trillion US dollars by 2030 to fulfill their nationally determined contributions.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is in New York, engaged in bilateral discussions on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe met USAID Administrator Samantha Power on the sidelines of the UNGA in New York. The President presented a short briefing on the progress with the IMF program while highlighting the government's commitment to its successful conclusion. Regarding the developments following the enactment of the anti-corruption legislation, President Ranil Wickremesinghe noted that the Anti-Corruption Commission is currently grappling with the task of recruiting staff with formal training. Given the circumstance, it is anticipated that it will require an additional year to realize the anticipated outcomes of the anti-corruption law adoption, making the timeline for achievement approximately 2 years. President Ranil Wickremesinghe also held a fruitful meeting with the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, in New York. President Ranil Wickremesinghe met with Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal of Nepal in New York on the sidelines of the 78th United Nations General Assembly.
Who accompanied the President on his visit to the UN General Assembly? Parliamentarian Tushar Indunil expressed views about the President's delegation in Parliament today.
At a time when the government cannot provide a proper solution to the human-elephant conflict, our President has gone to address at the United Nations Assembly with a group of parliamentarians. They have gone as experts. Former Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Anand Alupgamage, who crippled the agriculture sector of the country, has gone to this UN General Assembly with the President. Former Minister of Ports and Shipping Rohita Abegunawardena, who was the minister at the time of the Express Pearl disaster and the New Diamond disaster, the minister who made the trade unions take to streets, had also accompanied the President during this visit to the UN General Assembly. While there are many talented backbench parliamentarians, they have taken parliamentarian Dolavatta, who represented Mahinda Rajapaksha and Namal Rajapaksha in several court cases. The President, while speaking of the need of a transparent governance to overcome the economic crisis, has taken a group of experts to New York. Therefore, I wish to tell that this team is similar to the power struggle we see in Parliament today.
The members of the Professionals Trade Union Collective handed over a memorandum to the local office of the International Monetary Fund this morning.
Trade union members representing the professionals of more than 47 public, private and semi-government sectors gathered near the Colombo Central Bank today to meet the representatives of the IMF. There they handed over documents containing detailed issues that professionals face when it comes to the tax policy, as well as alternative solutions to those issues to the representatives of the IMF.
As far as we know, the representatives of the IMF will remain in Sri Lanka until the 26th of September. We hope to conduct discussions with them before that and come to a satisfactory solution. We also have to say that if we don't get a solution, we as a collective will be forced to take matters further. We will convene on the 27th of September. We will have to make decisions that haven't been made before. They are now testing the patience of the professionals. We cannot bear this situation anymore.
The request filed by the Jaffna police at the Jaffna Magistrates Court to prohibit any Thilipan memorials in several police jurisdictions in Jaffna was quashed today. Rasaya Parthipan, also known as Thilipan, died on the 26th of September 1987 during a hunger strike in Jaffna that took place, citing several demands, including the immediate exit of the Indian peacekeeping force from Sri Lanka.
The Jaffna police had made this request by naming 6 people, including parliamentarian of Tamil National People's Front, Selvarasa Gajendran, as defendants, and when the case was called up in the presence of Justice A. Anandaraja, the judge ordered this request to be quashed. The police had informed through the signature of the court registrar that the stance of the defendants regarding the petition filed by the police should be reported to the Jaffna Magistrates Court by 9:30 this morning, either directly or through counsel.
News first with the people.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Ali Sabri participated in the Global Development Initiative Cooperation Outcomes high-level meeting in New York on the sidelines of the 78th United Nations General Assembly.
In this context, as a member of the group of Friends of GDI, Sri Lanka commends the tangible results and the benefits delivered over the past 2 years through the Chinese initiative. It completes the effort to achieve the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development by revitalizing the global development partnership and promoting stronger, greener and healthier global development. The GDI has laid the foundation for certain core principles, staying committed to the development as a priority, to a people-centered approach, to benefit for all and to leave no country and no one behind, to innovation-driven development, to harmony between human nature and the results-oriented action.
The GDI had been proposed by President Xi Jinping during the UN General Assembly in 2021. It aims to build a global community of development, giving priority to development and people, and seeks to expedite the implementation of the UN's 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Over the past 2 years, more than 100 countries and international organizations, including the United Nations, have supported the GDI, and more than 60 countries, including Sri Lanka, have joined the group of friends of the Global Development Initiative.
The launch of the inaugural publication of the Factum Foreign Policy Review, a vision for a new Sri Lanka, took place yesterday in Colombo. Factum is an Asia and Asia-Pacific think tank on international relations, tech cooperation and strategic communication based in Sri Lanka.
The book launch of the Factum Foreign Policy Review, a vision for a new Sri Lanka, took place yesterday at the Lakshman Kadiragam Institute in Colombo. The publication is a collection of recommendations made by grassroots citizens and professionals and diplomatic officials on the foreign policy in Sri Lanka, based on a series of public consultations and interviews undertaken across several provinces last year. Acting Foreign Minister Tharaka Balasurya, Opposition Leader Sajith Premadasa, as well as former Ministers Sarath Amunugama, Ravi Karnanayaka, Vedda Chief Urwarage Vanilatto and other officials attended the event. Acting Minister of Foreign Affairs Tharaka Balasurya spoke about Sri Lanka's role in the global world.
Okay, we have now different spheres. We have a different security sphere, we have a different economic sphere. So we need to operate in these different spheres. Equally important is our commitment to working with all countries. We understand that the global challenges such as climate change, pandemics, terrorism and transnational crimes require collective action. Therefore, we will actively engage with international organizations such as the United Nations, Regional Forum and multilateral bodies to address these pressing issues. And in order for us to have effective multilateralism, we also believe that the global financial and the political architecture, particularly in the United Nations, has to change. And if that does not change, I think we'll be repeating the mistakes of the last century.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa also spoke at the event.
Foreign policy is fundamentally of domestic policy. Domestic policy goals and objectives must be consistently reflected in one's elements of foreign policy. Sri Lanka is a nation state which is built on the foundations of democracy. Right now, the main theme for Sri Lanka is to focus on economic diplomacy. Diplomacy that will enable Sri Lanka to extricate itself from the situation of bankruptcy.
This book launch marks a significant milestone in the discourse surrounding Sri Lanka's foreign policy, promising to shape the country's strategic direction for the future.
Today is day 25 of the second leg of the LOLC Divisavio program. The second leg of the LOLC Divisavio program will provide school books and stationery items to schools with less than 100 students. Students will be provided school books and stationery equipment for a period of 1 year under this program. This worthy initiative is a collaboration between the LOLC Group and the Ministry of Education. The programs took place in the Kilinochchi North and Kilinochchi South education zones of the Kilinochchi district. Students from schools including the Alimankada Government Tamil Vidyalaya, Mailawaganapura Government Tamil Vidyalaya, Kaddai Kadidu Government Tamil Vidyalaya, Ambikai Vidyalaya, Kalaveddethala Nagaswara Government Tamil Vidyalaya, Thambirasa Vidyalaya and Kannakai Amman Vidyalaya were provided with school books and stationery items. The LOLC Divisavio program will continue to create a bright future for the country's student population.
The semi-finals of the All-Ireland Inter-School Shakespeare Drama Competition was held yesterday.
The semi-finals of the 48th edition of the All-Ireland Inter-School Shakespeare Drama Competition was held at the Lionel Wendt in Colombo yesterday. The All-Ireland Inter-School Shakespeare Drama Competition is organised by the Rotary Club of Colombo North.
His silver skin, laced with his golden blood, his gashed stabs looked like a breach in nature.
The drama competition is being held in its original form after 2019, returning to the stage after a hiatus of 4 years. The finals of the All-Ireland Inter-School Shakespeare Drama Competition will be held next week.
India has warned its citizens against visiting parts of Canada. Now, the move comes against the backdrop of a diplomatic row over allegations that New Delhi was involved in the killing of a Sikh separatist near Vancouver. India told its citizens to avoid travelling to parts of Canada following a diplomatic row sparked by the allegation that New Delhi was involved in the killing of a Sikh separatist near Vancouver. India's foreign ministry said it was concerned for the safety of its citizens in Canada because of politically condoned hate crimes and criminal violence. It added that Indian nationals are therefore advised to avoid travelling to regions and potential venues in Canada that have seen such incidents. The advisory did not name specific cities or locations for Indians to avoid. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has demanded India treat the allegations with utmost seriousness that Indian agents played a role in the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar near a Sikh temple.
A ceasefire agreement with Azerbaijan was reached today to end the 2 days of fighting in the separatist Nagorno-Karabakh region.
24 hours after Azerbaijan's army launched an offensive in Nagorno-Karabakh, ethnic Armenian forces have agreed Russian terms for a ceasefire. One of the key demands of the Karabakh forces have accepted is a proposal for complete disarmament. Tensions in the South Caucasus have been high for months around the breakaway region, recognized internationally as part of Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan and Armenia last went to war 3 years ago. Nagorno-Karabakh authorities say 27 people have been killed, including 2 civilians and many more wounded since the offensive began.
A meeting between officials of Sri Lanka cricket and selection committee members was held this morning at SLC.
The discussion was held with regard to the naming of the squad for the upcoming ICC Cricket World Cup. Officials of Sri Lanka cricket and the head of the selection committee were among those who took part in this meeting. Following a 3-hour meeting, the selection committee members who attended exited the premises. When news first made an inquiry in this regard, a high-ranking official of Sri Lanka cricket stated that the pool captained by Dasun Shanaka has been forwarded to the sports minister for approval.
And with that, wrap up Primetime News for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. For the News First team, I'm Sandro Ferdinando.
And I'm Perini Karunaratna. Take care and good night.